Hey, it looks like we're live. Welcome to the broadcast. Special guest today, a musician. Let me tell you a little story about Divine. Is that how I say it?
Absolutely.
Okay, because the spelling is a little interesting, and we'll get to that later. I do a radio show on WZBC. It posts to Mixcloud. I love Mixcloud because you get to share with people all over the world. By the way, I don't know if you post your music on Mixcloud for promotional reasons, but maybe that's a thing. And I'm always searching for new music. It's a real difficulty coming up with new music that makes the cut for me in the nuanced subgenre that I'm in. And I play a lot of Russian music, and Russians, I believe, use a backwards E in the Russian language. Don't know what it means. Can't find it to type it, but I think maybe because I play a lot of Russian music, the backwards E showed up on a playlist. Like, you may like this, you may like that, suggestion, whatever. And there was one song by this artist Divine, who at the time was just a name on Spotify. And there was one song you just happened upon it called Unorthodox, and that was spectacular to me. And if you're listening to this, Divine's going to tell you how to find it and find her music. And when you do, I hope you listen to Unorthodox. You can listen to the other stuff, but the one that got me was called Unorthodox. And so I played it. I played it again on the show. I loved it. I play it every chance I get. One thing is it's really short, which is a trend now, very short songs, which is okay for me because now I can do a super short show and still play 19 songs. I can play 19 songs an hour now, which is crazy. It takes a lot of work, but you can cram a lot of songs in an hour. So I said, hey, where are you from? And Divine said, oh, I'm from Massachusetts. I said, what? So I said, let's talk, let's chat. And the reason Divine's here for me is not so much to promote her music, although that'll be a side effect, hopefully. Divine, D-I-V-I, backwards E, N-E, right?
Yep. Backwards N-E. Yep.
And so try to find it. I'm going to I'm going to share the link to my favorite song, Unorthodox, on Facebook, so you'll be able to hear it that way. Or maybe I'll put it in the link to this post. But I wanted to talk to Divine and find an example of how someone comes to be able to make their own music, like I do. But it was kind of natural for me because I was a DJ, and a lot of DJs become producers, especially in the 90s. You had all the dance music. You had your Fatboy Slims and your etc. Your Crystal Method. But how does somebody come to the realization, wow, I can make my own music? Why this is important for everyone, including, especially people in my town, because I try to cater to the people in my town of Brookline. You can make music on your own.
Absolutely.
And it's all you need is the desire to do it. You can learn a digital audio workstation like Logic, Ableton, Pro Tools. I use Logic because Apple taught it to me for free. Because that back in the day, like 2007, they were really good about teaching you their creative applications. And so that's, once I learned Logic, I don't want to bother to learn anything else. But other people start on Ableton Live. Ableton, which is a Berlin-based digital audio workstation. There's Pro Tools. There's Cubase people we're using for a while. There are others. And now I want to hear your story, and hopefully other people will say, wow, I can do that too. I've always wanted to make music. I don't need to know someone in a studio. I don't need to pay $1 million for a studio. I mean, you can get Logic for $299. It's got everything you need to be a star, and it's all on you. You can be as creative as you can be. So let's go back in time to before you had any clue about making music, to that point, that key point, Divine, where you made the first contact with the music world? Where was that? You probably didn't even realize, oh, I can do this yet. Somehow you came into contact with the music world. On the other hand, maybe your parents were musical, or somehow you were always musical and you were always determined to put yourself in a place where you could learn it. I don't know. You got to tell me the deal.
So nobody in my family is musical. I started out when I was very young. I actually started out playing classical piano, and I always loved it.
Because your parents told you to, or because you wanted to?
No, just because I wanted to. I loved it. I loved the sound of it and the different emotions that you could get from playing it. You could do something fun or something sad or, something jazzy. I loved it. So I started out playing piano. And then when I got older, like a teenager, I started going to a studio, but not to do any of the engineering. I was playing piano for people because I was the only one who could read sheet music. So I started out doing that, and everybody that came in there sounded the same to me. Like everything sounded the same, just a cookie cutter, trying to sound like somebody else. And I couldn't stand that. I'm like, it's just boring to me. And it got to the point where I didn't want to work on anybody else's music. I'm like, I don't hear anything that I want to hear. Like, not in a rude way. It's not that they were doing anything wrong. It's just, it didn't resonate with me. It's just like when I turn on the radio, like I hear things that I like, but there's nothing that really moved me or it felt real to me. That's when I'm like, you know what? I'm not hearing what I want to hear. Let me make it myself.
So you were kind of born musical, I guess. There was no parental, no uncles, aunts, anybody that kind of pointed you in the direction, either on purpose or accidentally, towards music. You just felt the need to play classical piano. Somehow, genetically, it was in your DNA.
Yeah, I love music. I just remember from way back when, like watching, Purple Rain or like The Wiz or even musicals like Oklahoma and stuff. Just, I love it. Anything musical I've always loved.
And you came in contact, is the next step the studio you somehow came in contact with?
Yep, through a friend of a friend. I heard that they were looking for somebody who knew how to read sheet music. And I'm like, oh, I can read sheet music. Let me try it out. And it was just playing like little quick notes here and there it was mostly like rap songs that I was doing it for, or a couple of singers, but everybody sounded the same, or they were like, sampling like older songs. I'm like, nobody's doing anything original or that sounds new or that sounds different. And I think that was the turning point for me where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try to figure out how to do this myself so I can make something that I actually want to listen to.
So this was Randolph?
This was in Randolph. Yep.
You lived in Randolph at the time. And you started searching around to figure out how to make it yourself. And had you heard at this point of digital audio workstations? You must have working in a it had not. How did you find out about them?
So like I'd seen them doing stuff, but I never actually, I'm like, I don't know how to do any of this. It wasn't until like actually a couple of years ago that I really started doing stuff myself. Like I would try to describe sounds that I had in my head, like, hey, can you make this beat for me? And I want this sound and I want it to sound kind of like this. And trying to describe a sound in your head to somebody is the most ridiculous thing. Like, especially if they don't have the same vision as you, it's just frustrating.
Also, and that's trying to find people to have the time. Can you do this for me? It's a hassle. And if you learn this, and you can learn, like either you or I could teach somebody how to do the basics in an hour.
Yeah.
How to create a track and then record on that track, create another track, record on that track in an hour. And you don't have to describe, as you mentioned, and you don't have to try to, do you have time on this day to do this? Can we try this? And you do a little bit, and then you got to wait 2 more weeks. And then, do you have an hour? And then you feel bad, and like maybe I should pay you, and that's a bummer. And so you took charge and became emancipated through this. I kind of interrupted your discovery of the digital audio workstation. You got to the point where it was difficult to describe, and you said, I want to do this on my own, and then you just started researching?
I started researching. I started out with Mixcraft, which I still use now. I still use Mixcraft. To me, it was pretty user friendly, and I'm just a button pusher. I'm like, what does this do? What does this button do? What happens if I turn this knob? And Unorthodox was probably one of the first songs that I did by myself. It was just me, my laptop, headphones, and like this super cheap mic, and it was the most freeing feeling to make that song. That's probably one of my favorite songs because it was the changing point for me. And everybody's like, "Oh, you were in rare form when you made that." I'm like, "Yeah, that was the shift. That was it for me."
Oh, good. So this is the part that's gonna teach me. I really want to know how you made that song. It's a simple song. Can't be that many tracks. Tell me the actual detailed process. What did you do first? Did you do the percussion parts first, and how did you do the percussion parts? Give me as much detail as you want. And there's a part in there that sounds like a guitar, but it might not be a guitar. It's a part that goes da 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 da. Like it is a guitar. Okay. Like tell me exactly how you made this.
So
and everybody, you got it. I'm going to post the link to the song so you can go hear it. Hopefully, this will pique your interest, and hopefully, you will follow Divine on Spotify and wherever you get your music. So, okay, Unorthodox, creation of 1, 2, 3, go.
So I actually started with the lyrics, which is weird for me. So I actually had a dream, and like the opening line to the song is what I heard in the dream. And I woke up the next day, and I'm like, I gotta write this down, because most of my songs I basically freestyle them. I don't write my lyrics down; they just come to me. And as I'm like working on a beat, the lyrics will come as I'm doing the beat. Yeah. But this one, the opening to that song, Caught Up in the Moment, I'm like, okay, and I kept going from there, and it kind of took off from that. Like
you had the lyrics. And,
yep.
But you didn't have the melody yet. Did you make the melody yet? Did you sing it to yourself before you did anything else?
I did not have the melody yet. I had just the opening line, and then I started with the guitar because it had a very raw feeling to it. I'm like, I knew I wanted to have kind of like a grungy feel to it. Like I wanted that guitar sound to it. So
an acoustic guitar?
No, I have an electric one.
Okay, so you played an electric guitar through an amp?
Yes.
Clean or with some distortion?
Definitely some distortion. I'm not by any means any type of guitar player. I was very slowly teaching myself. I played it very slow. It was literally like 2 notes. I put it in Mixcraft, and I definitely put some distortion on it because the whole feel of the song is supposed to have a distorted feel to it. It's like a realization song. It's a coming away from something. It's this like stepping into something. It's kind of like for me, like, you know, like the Wizard of Oz when she's stepping out of the house and it goes from black and white to color. Like that was Unorthodox.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Did you put the distortion on with an amp, or did you put the distortion on using what they call a plug-in in the program, which is a software patch, a software item that you put on a track? Did you use the software?
I used the software, and then I tweaked it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wanted it to be a very specific way.
Okay. And so it's basically one chord, right? Da 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 da. Maybe two, maybe another chord there too, right? What chord is that?
Oh my gosh, I could not tell you. I mean, this song is quite a few. It's maybe a decade old.
Okay. So you wrote the lyrics, and you didn't sing the melody yet, and you did the guitar, or you had a melody when you did the guitar? No melody yet?
No melody yet. So not until I started the guitar, that's when the melody started to come to me.
Okay. So what else? What other tracks are on there? What did you make? There's a vocal track, one vocal track, or 3 with different stuff on it?
2.
Can't remember. 10 years ago, I know.
10 years ago, I believe it was 2. And there's definitely some piano on there as well.
Because you had a piano.
I had a MIDI keyboard. I don't have a piano. I
Okay,
wish
MIDI
I,
keyboard.
yeah.
A MIDI keyboard, folks, is simply a keyboard that tells the software instrument to play. So instead of playing itself in the box like a piano does, it's an actuator, which it's got a keyboard with a wire that goes into your computer, and your computer will then play software synthesizers or pianos, just like a piano. And that's what you did. Okay.
Yeah, or like I played it out on the MIDI, like it had like the actual keys, like I played it out, and then I switched it to be a specific type of piano.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have you have the lyrics, a couple tracks of vocals. You got the guitar, and you have the piano, and then there's this sound that can't. It's a percussive sound. It goes or something like that. Did you make that with your mouth, or is that a tambourine? There's a little percussive sound there. Maybe you're not.
It's probably my mouth, because there's a lot of sounds that I make in all of my songs.
It sounds like you go or something like that.
Yeah. So I make a lot of sounds in the backgrounds of my songs. Sometimes I'll do like whisper sounds, or I'll do it's not beatboxing, but I'll do certain sounds of if I know what it sounds like in my head, and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to duplicate this with an instrument. Sometimes I'll do it myself with my voice.
So when you arrive at Unorthodox is a really different sound. It's not hip hop, and it's not classical. Did you just arrive at that sound by accident, or was there some band or some artist that you liked and you wanted to emulate, or did it just go that way because you can't help it? It just accidentally, because in the process of doing this and doing this and doing this, it became that.
So people always ask me, they're like, well, what genre are you? I'm like, I'm kind of not. I'm not a genre. I'm an eclectic blend of different energies. You get how I feel that day.
You need to come up with some cute name for your own genre. Make up a word.
I'll have to do that, because everybody asks me, like, well, what genre are you? I'm like, it depends. It depends on the day. Like, what I always say, like, how I feel is what you hear. You're going to hear exactly how I feel that day. Like, that's the energy you're going to get.
Okay. Is there any other tracks in there that have stuff on them that I am not thinking of or hearing? Any secret sauce in there that makes this so magic?
Secret sauce. No, I can't think of anything that would be a secret sauce. I think because I put such a very real feeling into it when I made it, I feel like that's what people are drawn to. It's not like, all right, I want to make a song about this. Let me write this down and craft it to be this. I felt it, and that's what I made. Like, I genuinely really felt this, and I made it.
Okay. It's pretty interesting. What I tend to do, and I think it puts me in a kind of box, is I do drums, and I do the rhythm section first. And I craft a kick sound and a snare sound. It's really hard to get the exact snare sound I like. I hear snare sounds are really so important to me. I love that snare sound on that Sisters of Mercy song or whatever. I tend to like gothy things and subgenres like cold wave, dark wave, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so finding a snare that I like, trying to go through the loops and cut one out of the loops and take it away. Most of these digital audio workstations have loops with a bar of beats. I just chop one snare out of there, but then I have to mess with it. Then some sort of bass, probably a bass guitar, maybe a keyboard bass, and then I build it that way. And the vocals come last. And then I see Paul McCartney, doing the melody first, and I think maybe I should do that, but I don't know. I'm stuck in my method, and part of that is because my genre tends to be drum and bass heavy, so maybe it is appropriate for me. I'm not doing a melodic kind of song. I don't want to do that, so maybe I'm okay. But anyway, so you got some music, and I found you on Spotify. So you had to learn how to, and it's easy as heck, way easier than one might expect, to get your music distributed in all the big persons like Apple Music, Spotify. You have to get a distributor, an online distributor. And which one did you choose?
DistroKid.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's so crazy easy, and
Yeah.
they make it easy, and
They do.
they even send you these little promo photos using
Yeah.
like you and a billboard, now available on Spotify. It looks super professional. It seems like
Yeah.
DistroKid is a big one. There are others, but people use DistroKid.
Yeah, they're pretty great. I like their little promo things that they have. I mean, if you look at my page, most of the promo pictures and videos, I make all those myself.
Oh, really? Yep.
Yeah.
Being able to do video for your songs is fun. I wonder how necessary it is. How important is having a video for a song and promoting your song? Is it important? Because do people really watch a video? I don't know.
I don't know if it's so much if they watch it, because I don't make long videos. I only post like 15 seconds. But I feel like what's going to catch somebody's attention, because the audio doesn't play automatically. It's going to be something that's eye-catching. They're going to be like, what is this video? What is this astronaut? Or what is this, whatever. Let me click on this.
And then the song plays a little snippet of the song. Did I lose you? Audio went away. I didn't touch anything. There
it
we
was
go.
me. Sorry. I was getting a phone call. I'm like, phone call.
Okay, good. So yeah, I hear you again. What did I ask you? I forget. So I'll go on to the next thing. What else do you do to promote yourself? You have a lot of followers, right? How many? Quite a lot.
On Instagram,
No, like Spotify.
Spotify, maybe like 500.
Right, that's quite a lot. It's and so what is your chosen platform of promotion? You say Instagram, huh?
I use Instagram, but honestly, weirdly enough, I do pretty well on TikTok, which is so bizarre to me.
Okay, this is good. How do you use TikTok to promote your music? Because your goal is to what? To get people to go to Spotify and follow that way? What is your goal? Like, how do you define success? The number of TikTok views? Because that's not selling the music. You got to get them to go to the place that sells the music. And the real bummer with TikTok is no clickable links, right? Unless you got a secret way, you have to put whatever one link you want or how many links you can in your profile, right? And they have to go to the profile. That's one step that. How many people are doing that?
Yeah.
Because usually on TikTok, you're just going, as short as TikTok videos are, I'm still only watching the first 3 seconds of a 10-second video. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's blah, 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 blah. Am I a kind of guy that's going to take the time to go to the profile and click it? That's a big step.
It is. So I have a Spotify artist account. So if you go to, not Spotify, TikTok artist account. So when you go to my TikTok page, you can see my songs on my page, and you can click where you want to listen to it.
I did not know about that. How much is that?
It's free.
What?
So, yep, you go on TikTok and you can apply for an artist account.
Okay.
And yeah, I got approved for it.
So the artist account, does that contain links to the music?
Yeah, so they can, I believe, like on my page, it'll list all of my songs that are available, and I believe you can click where you want to listen to it.
So you can just click on it and it'll take you to Spotify.
Yep.
And it's free.
Free.
That's insane. I mean, not really insane. It's insane how dumb I am not to know that.
A lot of people.
I actually stumbled across it.
Did you get another call?
I keep
That's all right.
I keep
It's all
getting
right.
phone
It's all
calls. I
right.
apologize.
When it goes quiet, I'll realize that it's your fans calling you. Okay. And it's really rewarding for you because you are the master of your destiny. It's all you. The quality of your music,
Absolutely.
how hard you work, willing to work and promote it. Of course, most of us, maybe you'll be different, but I'll never make any money at it. You do it because you. Some would say you do it because you love it. Others would say you do it because you can't help it. There are certain,
Yeah.
it is something that you must do, or you feel sick. You feel mentally
Yeah.
ill. You feel physically ill, and I don't know about you, but it's not about the big numbers in in anything I do anymore. When I was on big time radio, it was important to have many thousands of people listen. But now I just do it for respect from people I respect. That's it. Like I'll send if there's 3 people that go, whoa, I love that, or if I get maybe played on college radio. And if I get played on college radio, it's almost not because people hear it. It's that the college radio DJ respected the music enough to play it. So
Absolutely.
that's the big reward. I'll tell you, your story is very moving. And so, what's the future? I mean, just keep doing what you're doing, right? Because you're doing it because you love it. So you are now living the dream.
Yeah.
And you, of course, you have the rest of your life where you have to make a living and stuff, but you have this love, this friend that you have that you can always turn to. Again, folks, and the digital audio workstation, people will call it a DAW. If you want to make music, if you felt like I always wanted to, but I didn't know how. I didn't know how to take the first step. Well, take the first step. Go online. Go on YouTube and just look at the first 5-minute simplest video on, say, Logic for Beginners. Or what's your, what one do you use?
Mixcraft.
Mixcraft for Beginners. And you'll say, oh, I can do that. It's cheap money, and the instruction is all out there. One thing I will warn is there's a lot of geeks on YouTube, right? That it'll bog you down in a bunch of unnecessary details.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tweaky sorts of folks who really aren't musicians. They love gear and they love tweaking, and don't get bogged down in it. There's so much crap that they will talk about you don't know. All you need to know is how to open the program, create an audio track, record, get your voice in that audio track or your instrument in the audio track, and also how to create synthesizer track and play those software instruments in there. Get a $100, or you can probably get a $69 MIDI keyboard, which will allow you to play those software instruments, and you're off to the races. And then really all you need to do is learn what you want to learn. You say, oh, wish I knew how to do that, and look that thing up.
Yes.
If you take a whole big like LinkedIn learning course in Logic, it's like all this crap you'll never need to know. Once you get a bunch of tracks down there, maybe later on, and you've mastered that part, you really want to learn how to professionally mix. And that is also free online. And again, keep it simple. I would say one thing that happens is you realize it's so easy to make a track. You'll start making a bunch of them. You'll like, oh, I have 37 tracks here. Things become a mess that way. I believe you got to.
Keep
It's
it
better to
simple.
have a few cool sounds than try to make something cool out of thousands of regular sounds. And the more tracks there are, the more sounds get in each other's way. And the idea for mixing is, let's pretend what you're hearing is a stage, and there needs to be a separate space. I should be asking you questions rather than talking, but I'm also trying to instruct people. Think of it as a stage in a live performance. Every sound needs its own spot, whether it's high or low, that would be high end or low end sounds, whether it's left or right, or deep or far away or forward. Think of it as a 3D thing, and think of each sound as a little balloon in that cube, and that's an extremely helpful visualization. And mixing wise, that's what everybody tries to do, and there are various ways to do that. Anyway, how much? Here's a big question: how do you know when a song is done? That's the most difficult question.
That is something that I struggle with. I can't tell you how many times I'm like, all right, this is done. And then I go and I lay and I listen to it and I'm like, I hear things that are just slightly off and I will agonize over it and I'll tweak it a million times. And a friend of mine was like, yeah, but you're listening with a musician's ear. Somebody who's not a musician is going to hear that and they're never going to hear what you hear. They're going to hear the lyrics. They're just going to hear the overall sound. The things that I agonize over, somebody's probably never going to hear. But that's something that I still struggle with. Like I seriously probably have over 100 songs on my laptop that I'm like, all right, this is done. And then I'm like, well, it's not perfect. So I'm sitting on so many songs that probably could have been put out years ago.
One thing that's crazy important is listening with fresh ears. There's two examples of this: the short term and the long term. I will do a song, and my number one challenge is to get the vocals to sit in the mix. I don't like them riding way high over the mix. I like them sitting in the mix at the same level as the instruments, but able to hear the lyrics, which is tricky, and it has to find its own sonic space on that stage, like I said. But so one day I'll think, oh, it's just right. Then next, I'll come back 2 days later and listen to it. Oh my God, the vocals are way too loud. It's funny how dumb your ears get, how quickly your ears get dumb. You got to put it down and listen 1 or 2 days later. That may be what it may be good to have. Maybe good to have more than one project so you can work on one day and one another day.
That's what I do. I'm like, let me take a break. Let me listen to this one. I honestly think, and I know other people have said this too, when I can sit in the car and listen to it and it sounds smooth, that's usually when it's done.
Yeah, I know. But car radios, I know that. And it's important because a lot of people listen on cars. They listen on AirPods and cars. And that's kind of it. That's kind of it. When it's done for me, I have a little, if I listen on my phone with my crappy, I don't like AirPods. I like the wired, regular old earpods. If I go on a long walk and I listen on those cheap earpods and it sounds as good as anybody else, then I'm done. Now here's the long-term ear thing. And this probably happened to you. You've probably done songs 8 years ago. And you thought, that's a failure. That's a junk thing. And you just forgot about it. Maybe you posted it on SoundCloud. And you didn't use SoundCloud anymore. And you're like, then maybe 8 years later, you say, I wonder what's on the SoundCloud. And you're going back and listen to that thing that you thought sucked. And it's like, oh my God, a lot of stuff I like isn't even as good as what I did. This is really interesting. That happened to me the other day, and I just plopped it onto DistroKid and onto Spotify. That's when you're really going to be done, because you don't want to be uploading it and then thinking, oh God, you got to really live with it for like a week or two, right?
Yes, because once you put it out there, it's out there.
Right. Okay. How do you make a living? That's really, you know what? Don't answer that question. I think I don't even want to know that. I'm going to be done now, I guess, unless there's something that you wanted to accomplish that I didn't get to.
No, I think we covered a lot of great stuff, honestly. Definitely share my link so people can find me. That's the way I constantly share my links to either Apple Music or Spotify, so because people can't find me.
There's one other thing that you're probably aware of, because seem to be very aware, is when you get your song mixed down into one file. A lot of people. There's the process of mastering, which used to be you would send it to probably some dude, maybe a woman, probably a dude, pay a lot of money, and this sort of guru. There's like only 10 good ones, I guess. This guru would, make your song sound even more magical. They would make it sound bigger and get the EQ right. The loudness, the softness, the highs, the lows, the compression. They would do all this stuff to it to make it sound whoa, like the way you have it sounds good, but he would make it good so it popped on the radio. And there are AI mastering tools now, which you may or may, you're probably aware of them, right?
I saw that on DistroKid. They have one now.
Okay. Since I'm trying to enable everyone, I was going to say it for not, kind of you, but not necessarily. This is to everyone. Once you start making music, or if you're already at the point where you've made music and it needs that extra something, there are AI mastering programs. One of them is called eMaster from a company called Landr, Landr, all capital. I guess it doesn't have to be all caps. Landr. And it's only it's less than $200 for a full year of unlimited masters. You can do them over and over. And the thing is, sometimes it works fantastically, and then you're done. Sometimes it works awful. It'll because AI is dumb. It does what it does pretty well, but if it may take one sound and make it all out of whack. So you can go back and to the regular mix and reduce that sound and run it again. But it's for the money. To me, it was really worth it. I think it was like 159, but can't be sure. And when it works great. The problem with it used to do with me, I have with it is, once again, it takes my vocals and make them have too much sibilance. So that's a bummer, and you can go back and mess. But what I do now is I only master the instrumental part and don't master the vocals. So then I end up with two tracks. The mastered this, and then I can kind of mix one. I have the original version of the vocals with just a little compression or something, and that seems to work for me. And there's one other thing, since we're just talking about, we're sharing here. There's a thing called Track Spacer, which is a big help to me, because what it does is, it's a plugin that you put it on. What it does is carve a little space in the instrument for your vocal, only when your vocal is active, when it makes a sound, and you can see the graph. When your vocal goes up, the thing goes down. Track Spacer. That seems to be a valuable tool, but folks, that's way down the line after you've learned to make music, or people that already know how to make it. Beth Burnett, who's a kind of a software gearhead, turned me onto that, and I said, wow, that is perfect for me. So I'm trying, I'm getting my workflow down. Hopefully I'll be able to be more productive instead of endlessly messing around with doing those vocals. I'm trying to mix those vocals. We all have, you know how it is. You get hand cramp from doing it over and over. And you got up in the morning to start working on it, and then it's dark all of a sudden because you've been working all day. I'm so happy with your music, and to talk to you, someone who really is super creative and self-made. I love that. And the reason you're on is to promote your music, to tell everybody, do it yourself. You can do it, and you can do it yourself. Do not wait for other people. Just do it. You have technology, and you have the instruction online, and maybe you can find a person like Divine or like me that I'm not professional at all, but that's not true. I'm like 1/3 professional. But I can give you a little advice, because I've made most things I've been making the mistakes for ages, and only recently learned not to make them. So thank you so much, and all the best to you. And please, everybody, check out Divine's music. And so, what's the trick to finding your music? Because of the backwards E, is a difficult thing. You type Divine.
You're never gonna find me that way. It's so funny. I'm like, those who want to find me will. You'll have to probably go to one of my websites at Music by Divine, like my social media. Go to at Music by Divine.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you'll be able to find me through. I have a link tree in all of my bios. You can find all of my links there.
At Music by Divine. At
Yes.
symbol Music by Divi regular Divin regular E, right?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, and I can't wait to hear more stuff. And thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I'll send you the link to this. You can share it with whomever you want right
you.
away. Of course. Thank you for your time. Okay, I'm going to end this, but you don't need to go away. I want to say thanks off the air. So we're not quite done yet.